Welcome to the Haters Guide to the 2024 Perfect World Shanghai Major. Today we're going to be taking a look at all 16 teams. We're going to summarize the year that they've had in about 30 seconds, so it's going to be very accurate and very detailed. And of course, we're going to put them on a little tier list, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to go ahead and reveal my pick'ems and what I think is going to get you the diamond coin. So let's go ahead and get started with our favorite team, Team Liquid. If you enjoy being miserable, then you've definitely got what it takes to be a Liquid fan. This past year hasn't exactly been the best for North America's finest. However, that doesn't mean crowds are going to stop chanting USA, even though the closest thing they have to an American citizen are two Canadians and JKS. But on a more serious note, things are looking up, and even though they haven't won too much as of late, they're only losing to the best of the best, except for Wildcard, of course. But JKS has looked like a great addition, and Ultimate started out looking like he could push for Rookie of the Year, but has definitely cooled off to a level that needs to be studied. However, he looked pretty dangerous at the RMR, and all things considered, on paper, this team should breeze through the opening stage of this major when looking at the quality of teams that they're going up against. But we can never forget it's still Team Liquid. But hey, let's move on to our favorite US team in this tournament, Complexity. Similar to Liquid, they haven't had all that much success this year, and apart from an ESL Challenger win, they've seen quite a few group stage exits at S-tier events. However, it's been an absolute joy watching Elige look like a legitimate superstar, putting up insane numbers and taking most of them straight with him to the airport. But on a more serious note, as an NA fan, it's really hard not to root for these guys. They've shown some serious signs of improvement, and they've taken some pretty big scalps across recent tournaments. I don't think there's any doubt that they should be moving through to the elimination stage, and anything less than that will definitely feel like a failure. And before we move on with this video, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Skins Monkey. But what's Skins Monkey, you might ask? Well, it's an automated CS2 trading site that provides an instant way for you to get new skins, and all you have to do is select the old skins that you don't want anymore and grab some new ones from the monkey. They also have a 24/7 live support system and some amazing filter and selection features, but that's not all. They're currently running a Black Weekend event offering up to a 45% deposit bonus on Friday. That's an extra 10% than usual, allowing you to get your dream skins for much cheaper. The full schedule's on screen right now, and as you can see, on Saturday and Sunday, it's dropping down to 40%. So go ahead and jump in there and don't miss out. And as always, thanks again to Skins Monkey for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about another favorite in this stage of the major, the Mongols. These guys have been on a heater for most of the year and by far the best representation of Asian Counter-Strike that we've seen so far. These guys are even top 5 on Valve's global rankings, which has certainly been a bit controversial. They definitely had some big wins in terms of prize pool, most notably Yala Compass 2024, picking up their first LAN trophy with 9-10 bringing home the MVP. However, similar to Complexity, they've struggled in S-tier tournaments with plenty of group stage exits. They always look like a threat to even the best teams in the world, but they haven't really found a way to push past the finish line. To me, they feel like they've taken on Big's old role of being the gatekeepers of Tier 1 Counter-Strike. They're definitely one of the better teams in this stage, and I definitely expect them to make it through. Now let's talk about one of Counter-Strike's most prestigious and historic organizations, Fnatic. And for the past year or so, they've done pretty much the opposite of living up to their name. Everyone loves to hate on CS2's most notorious eco-cobra, Blame F, calling him a baiter, but honestly, in the RMRs, the man put the team on his back and straight up entry'd his way into qualifying. The quality of CS I was seeing from Fnatic was fairly inconsistent, some T rounds looking absolutely horrendous, then followed by a masterclass on rotation manipulation, so predicting how they'll perform is going to be almost impossible. The addition of Nox seemed like a good move on paper, but he hasn't really found his form yet. Either way, anything is possible with Blame F putting up superhero numbers, especially when he's ripping heads off in opening duels. But I still don't want to see him qualify just based on the fact that someone in that organization approved these jerseys. I mean, what were we thinking here, guys? But honestly, Fnatic's so inconsistent, it's really hard to predict what they're going to be doing. Alright, so now let's talk about Furia. They've had some pretty inconsistent results lately, going from a 13th to 16th finish at EPL to jumping straight to the semis at Rio by dismantling 3 of the best teams in the world, even bringing down number 1 Na'Vi, only to get tossed around on stage by Mouse. Fallen's certainly not in his prime statistically, but his calling and impact in the support and utility game is undeniable. Combine that with the fact that Caserado is an absolute demon, and Skulls has looked like a decent pickup, they definitely have potential. Now, whether that potential is a 0-3 finish or a 3-0, we really have no idea. However, it'd be hard to say that Furia are going to miss out on this elimination stage, and who doesn't want to see Fallen succeed this far into his career? Since we're already in Brazil, let's talk about Pain. After Biggie's era had his entire roster scooped out from under him and poached by other orgs, expectations were pretty low before the start of the last major. However, they surprised everyone and made it to the elimination stage with a pretty fresh and very young roster. They came extremely close to making the playoffs, and since then they've had a lot of success back home winning ESL Challenger recently. But internationally, things have looked a little bit rough, but there's no denying that they're a dangerous team with a lot of firepower. I'd say apart from Furia, Pain have the best shot to represent Brazil past the opening stage. So let's talk about the home team Rare Atom, and while I absolutely love their stickers, that's about all they've got going for them. They looked great at the RMR, but they didn't really play any teams that I would expect to challenge them at all. Meanwhile, their only international experience recently went very, very bad, losing to Johnny Speeds, Endpoint, and even getting 2-0'd by Spirit Academy twice, which isn't a great sign for what we should expect. However, they are the home team, and they're going to be playing with a lot of fire. Unfortunately, that doesn't change the fact that I believe they're the weakest team here at this tournament. Let's talk about the last NA team on the list, Wildcard, with a much needed but questionable rebrand and an investment from a particular streamer. They've really turned the ship around. Going from a pretty average ECL team in NA to dominating their way to the qualification of this major under the experienced leadership of Stanislaw, the future is definitely looking brighter for NA, even though the only other NA player is JBA, who admittedly is looking fantastic right now. It's pretty cool to see this mix of players perform well, but I can't help but question how their form will translate into international competition. Even as an NA player and fan, I can't help but rate them pretty low when compared to the other teams on this list. If there's a fan favorite underdog for this tournament, it has to be Passion UA. Passion is a fitting name too, just look at Fear's reaction to qualifying.
No one can question their run.
They've had a pretty insane run leading up to this event, so a lot of people actually expected them to do well here. However, they fell off quite a bit just before the event, but that didn't stop them from starting out 2-0, taking two massive CIS scalps of Spirit and Virtus Pro. And the cherry on top, they qualified by eliminating Astralis, which, yeah, everyone liked that. I honestly have no idea what to expect from them in this stage. If they can bring down VP and Spirit in best of ones, I feel like they could scrape by and make it onto the next stage, but it's pretty tough to predict. Alright, so let's talk about our favorite Germans at this event, Big. Honestly, things haven't looked that great for them this year, and they've had very shaky results. They've gotten quite a bit of fair criticism for their lackluster performances against Tier 2 and even Tier 3 teams. However, watching them live in Atlanta allowed me to realize that they definitely still have potential and a lot of firepower. That combined with the fact that they dominated their way to a 3-0 qualification at the RMR, bringing down both Heroic and Passion UA, I think they might be in pretty decent form right now. On paper, I like the looks of this roster, and to me they're definitely a toss-up as to whether or not they'll make it to the next stage, but I would not count them out at all. Now it's time we should talk about Virtus Pro. Honestly, this was another roster I was excited to see once Electronic joined, but was quickly disappointed with lackluster results. The slow and steady VP style was getting completely dismantled in the early days of CS2, so much so that it had James questioning his ability as an IGL. And honestly, they look to be improving and have made some better results as of late. But when looking at the teams here, there are few that have the level of experience and talent that VP have. I don't necessarily think they're guaranteed to the playoffs, but I do think they should dominate their way through this stage of the major. Honestly, ever since Cloud9 left NA, it's been downhill, which is not really what you'd expect given the state of NACS. From the Colossus to the Gambit buyout, things have been consistently disappointing for years now. But hey, at least we got a great Twitter moment out of it whenever Nafany got benched. And the hype of Perfecto and Electronic joining the team was quickly shut down by poor performances and Shiro jumping ship to actually go win tournaments. And things were looking pretty grim for a while since they brought in Boomich to Op. And once they lost Electronic, it was definitely looking pretty grim, but once they picked up Heavy God and an actual Opera and Icy, things have been looking up. However, let's not get too crazy here. I wouldn't say they're looking that good, but I could definitely see them sneaking through to the elimination stage. But don't let any of this distract you from the fact that we once again have Dexter stickers. And hey, FlyQuest have honestly been pretty decent, picking up an ESL Challenger trophy in Atlanta and beating two fellow qualified teams in Wildcard and Big along the way. They also eliminated Coach Onipixel out of the major in one of the most heart attack inducing games I have ever watched, and they're obviously the best team in their region, but it's tough to say how they'll look against international competition since it always seems to be a struggle in S-tier events. Overall, I think they absolutely have what it takes to move on, and I really like the roster, but there are quite a few teams that I'd unfortunately rate a bit higher than them. So let's talk about MIBR. Now that they've finally shaken off the Brazilian retirement home stigma, they've actually got a very young and promising roster with a lot of talent. They've looked good domestically with a second place finish at ECL and qualification to ESL Pro League, however internationally they didn't look too hot. That's the main reason I'd rate Furia and Pain over them, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they upset a few bigger names in this stage. Overall, I personally wouldn't pick them to move on, but I wouldn't blame you if you did. Now, Gamer Legion was a team that I didn't expect to make the major. They had an insane comeback run to qualify, and honestly, they looked pretty good while doing it. And I think this is a huge testament to their coach, Ash, since he's managed to qualify to the last 3 majors with completely different rosters, even making the grand finals of the last CSGO major. And while I'm very impressed with their latest roster's qualification, there's a lot of young talent there, I just don't see them moving past this stage of the event. I'd love to be proven wrong, but there are teams here with a lot more experience and honestly a lot more firepower, so we're just going to have to see. But right now, I don't think I'm going to take them going on to the elimination stage. Alright, so let's go ahead and wrap this up with the final Brazilian team on the list. For me, Imperial's a team that I expected to qualify for the major, but as far as the opening stage goes, they're a big question mark for me. They haven't looked as good as the other Brazilian teams here, both internationally and domestically, but they really surprised everyone at the last major, getting to the elimination stage under Vinny's leadership. I enjoyed watching their run last year and hope they prove me wrong, but I just don't see them making it further than the other teams this year. Alright, so let's actually jump into the actual pick'ems. So if you were following the tier list along the first part of the video, you probably have a fairly good idea of what I'm going to do here, but let's go ahead and jump right into it. I definitely think on paper the best team here is Team Liquid. They are shaky at times, but I think just overall, I'm going to pick them to go 3-0. I'm going to be confident in NA, but also I just think they are the best team right now in the opening stage. Along with that, I'm tempted to throw Mongols up here in the 3-0 as well, but honestly, I'm going to say they're going to just advance, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Virtus Pro is going to also 3-0. That is just kind of how I'm feeling at this very moment. Personally, I think Team Liquid is a little bit stronger than Complexity, which is why I'm also going to put Complexity into the advanced column, and as well as Furia. I think, Furia shouldn't have any issue going through. Now, it's time to get, these are kind of my givens. I think all these teams should absolutely make it through. The odds are one of them probably won't because it is Counter-Strike. There are best of ones. You never know what's going to happen. But the rest of these are going to be a little bit tricky. I think maybe we can start with our 0-3. I certainly think Rare Atom are the weakest team in this tournament, as I stated before. I've got to give them the 0-3. Unfortunately, I don't want them to. It would be awesome to have a home team even make the stage, would be so cool, but I just really don't see it happening. Along with Rare Atom down here at the bottom, I am torn between either Gamer Legion or Wildcard. I think they are the two weakest teams alongside them. I think I'm going to go with Wildcard in the 0-3 slot. I think that I would give the edge to Gamer Legion, but it's hard to say. They're a young, inexperienced team. I'm not going to end up picking them to move on. So let's go ahead and just talk about our final 3 slots. Big's form right now, I could justify throwing them in. And same with Fnatic, they again look a little bit shaky. I do think that Pain is going to be able to make it into the next stage. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt here and say they're going to be able to pull it off. Along with them, I definitely think I'm going to throw Big in their current form. They look good. Even though FlyQuest beat them in ESL Challenger Atlanta, I'm going to rate Big right now over them. I may regret that, but they looked very good in the RMRs, and I just think maybe they're finding a little bit of form and hopefully found a little bit of confidence with that 3-0. That is a little bit of a risky pick. I would not blame you for picking someone else over them, but that's kind of how I'm feeling. Cloud9, I think people are overrating them a little bit right now. Honestly, their results have been shaky at best in Tier 2. I'm not confident enough to throw them up here over a team like Fnatic. I think Fnatic are far more likely than Cloud9, so I'm going to put them in here. But that leaves me with Gamer Legion, which obviously I'm not going to pick, MIBR, who, again, I think could do it, but it's a little bit risky. Passion UA, too much of a question mark. I would love to see them continue their run here. But it's hard to say. Again, if they were able to take down Spirit and Virtus Pro, and I'm picking Virtus Pro as the 3-0, I mean, it's probably logical for me to put them maybe even over Pain. But again, I think at this point, I'm feeling Pain. This is kind of what I'm feeling. This is my gut instinct here. FlyQuest, I really want them to move on, but I just don't know. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I wouldn't be surprised. This is one of the more difficult opening stages that I've seen in quite a while. And you could probably tell from what we just talked about, there's so many teams that I just find hit or miss 50-50. I definitely think, you know, I'm fine with Imperial, Gamer Legion, and Passion UA being left out. I think these are the weaker teams in my opinion. And right now, this is what I'm most comfortable with, and I think that's going to get us to the next stage at the very least. So let me know what you think. Are we going to hit the 3-0s? I'm going to be rooting hard for Liquid and Virtus.pro, but I don't know. That's a tough one, guys. But anyways, thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you enjoyed that style. I would love to do it for the elimination stage next. I'm going to go ahead and lock in these picks, but I'd love to do a similar video style for the elimination picks. So let me know. Give me some criticism. Tell me what you thought. But guys, this right here, these are my pick'ems, and these are my thoughts on how the opening stage is going to go. Let's find out if I'm right. If I'm wrong, feel free to flame me in the comments and call me an idiot, call me out on social media. I would just love that. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.